There's a chemical glitch in your brain that triggers the moment you set a new goal. It feels like ambition, but it is actually a biological trap designed to keep you exactly where you are. Most people think they quit because they are lazy or lack discipline. That is false. You quit because your dopamine receptors are rewarding you for the fantasy of success rather than the work itself. Today, we are going to deconstruct the dark psychology behind this mechanism and give you the code to override it. Chapter 1. Why your brain is wired to fail at goals. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Your brain was not designed to make you successful. It was designed to keep you alive with the least amount of effort. On the surface, your prefrontal cortex, the planning and decision-making area behind your forehead, loves to imagine big goals and future versions of you. But deeper in the brain, the old systems run the show. Midbrain dopamine neurons, your reward centers in the striatum, and the habit circuits of the basal ganglia. Their priority is simple. What gave us quick reward last time? Do that again. That means your brain doesn't really care about your 90-day transformation plan, your shredded summer body, or your dream business. It cares about quick chemical rewards and avoiding uncomfortable effort. Dopamine is the signal your brain uses to say, "This is worth moving toward. Do more of this." But here's the twist most people never hear. Dopamine doesn't just fire when you achieve something. It fires when you imagine achieving it. When you're daydreaming about your new life, your default mode network, the system that lights up when you're thinking about yourself, your past, and your future, starts spinning vivid simulations. Your dopamine system reacts to those simulations almost like they're real. So when you set a big goal, you get a dopamine spike up front just for picturing the future. You see the new body in the mirror, you see the money in the account, you see the new life. And your brain says, "Great, we've already tasted it." That's why you feel so powerful when you're writing plans, making vision boards, shopping for gym clothes, or designing the perfect habit tracker. You get the emotional high before doing a single rep of work. Then reality shows up. The alarm goes off early. Your body feels heavy. Your mind says, "Or we could start tomorrow." The dopamine peak you got from planning makes the first real step feel flat and boring by comparison. On a chemical level, you're going from fantasy high to effort low. That crash is not proof you're weak. It's proof your brain did exactly what it's wired to do. Reward the story, punish the discomfort. So when you think, "Why do I always fail at my goals? Why am I like this?" The answer is because your brain is running ancient code on a modern life. The system is not broken. It's doing its job. It's just not working for you. Yet. Chapter 2. The dopamine trap hidden in goal setting. Now, let's name the trap. The dopamine trap looks like this. 1. You set a big goal. 2. You get a huge dopamine hit from imagining it. 3. You feel like you've already changed. 4. The actual work feels smaller than the fantasy. 5. You avoid the work, feel guilty, and set a new goal to feel better. You're not lazy. You're addicted to the feeling of becoming someone instead of the process of being them. Think about how many times you've done this. You announce a big plan to your friends, you post about your new era on social media, you spend 3 hours researching the perfect routine. In that moment, your default mode network and reward circuits are buzzing. You already feel like a different person. You get validation, excitement, identity. Your brain quietly checks the box. Change accomplished. You haven't changed at all. But chemically, it doesn't matter. You just gave yourself the reward in advance. This is why I'm telling you very literally to stop setting goals the way you've been taught. Because for most people, goal setting has become a socially acceptable way to mainline dopamine without real risk. You're not planning. You're getting high on potential. And there is another, more subtle layer to this trap that I'll call the niche SEO angle of your brain. Think of your brain like a search engine with one main ranking factor. What gives me dopamine the fastest? Every time you choose scrolling over studying or another YouTube video about productivity instead of actually being productive, you're teaching your brain's internal algorithm. These tiny niche hits of pleasure are more important than the long, silent grind. Your striatum, the part that helps pick actions and habits, starts favoring whatever brought the quickest hit yesterday. You keep search optimizing your life for small, easy dopamine, notifications, fantasy planning, daydreaming about results, checking stats instead of building systems. So of course, when it's time to do something that doesn't give instant reward, your brain resists. It's been trained by you and by design to chase whatever ranks highest for immediate dopamine, not long-term identity change. That is the dopamine trap. You are constantly rewarded for thinking about the future, talking about change, optimizing little details, and almost never rewarded emotionally for quietly repeating boring actions in the dark with no applause. If you don't understand this, you will keep blaming your character for what is fundamentally a wiring issue. So the question becomes, how do you use the same chemistry to work for you instead of against you? Chapter 3. How to escape the dopamine trap without becoming a robot. Instead of trying to kill your dopamine, you weaponize it. You stop giving it away to fantasies and start attaching it to behaviors. You also stop letting the amygdala treat every big goal like a life or death threat that shuts down your prefrontal cortex. There are 3 moves that change everything. Move 1. Stop announcing and instead start executing. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you cash out part of the dopamine before the action. Your reward system gets a little social hit from people reacting, and your brain logs that as progress. So for a while, you go silent. You stop announcing that you're back in the gym. You stop posting about your grind. You stop promising everyone how different you'll be this year. Instead, you pick one behavior that takes less than 10 minutes and you do it without witnesses. Not a program, not a 90-day plan. One behavior. 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of writing, 1 email sent. Your new rule is simple. I don't get dopamine from declaring who I'll be. I get dopamine from proof of what I did today. On a brain level, you're telling your dopamine system and your striatum, reward this action, not the performance around it. You'll feel resistance. Your ego, the storytelling parts of your cortex and default mode network, will want to be seen evolving. But that's exactly why this works. You're starving the addiction to identity talk and feeding the circuits that care about identity evidence. Move 2. Attach reward to the start, not the finish. Most people only let themselves feel good when the goal is complete. That's like only allowing oxygen at the top of the mountain. No wonder you quit halfway. You have to move the reward signal from the outcome to the initiation. That means the moment you sit down at the desk, the moment you put your shoes on, the moment you start the hard conversation, you consciously mark it. You tell yourself, this is the win. This is the kind of person I am now. You can even exaggerate it in your mind. Most people would have postponed this. I didn't. That matters. It sounds small. It's not. You are literally retraining your dopamine system to fire on behavior, not fantasy. Your prefrontal cortex chooses an action. Your dopamine neurons tag that choice as rewarding. And over time, your habit circuits in the basal ganglia start to automate it. Your brain starts to associate starting the task with a micro hit of satisfaction. The work stops feeling like a punishment and becomes a cue for, oh, this is when we feel proud. Move 3. Shrink the goal until your nervous system stops panicking. If your brain interprets a task as threat, the amygdala lights up, stress hormones spike, and your thinking brain goes foggy. That's why you feel frozen looking at a huge to-do list. So instead of worshiping big goals, you ruthlessly shrink them. Write a book becomes write one ugly paragraph. Get in shape becomes walk for 5 minutes after I eat. Fix my life becomes do one thing today that my future self won't hate. You're not lowering your standards. You're lowering the entry cost so your brain stops hitting the alarm button. A smaller, safer feeling step means less amygdala activation, more prefrontal control, and a higher chance your dopamine system can actually reward you for doing it. Once you're moving, once momentum exists, you can increase the volume. But if you design a goal that only a perfect version of you can start, you are building the dopamine trap into the foundation. It will always feel better to dream than to act. Close. Rewiring the failure story. So when you look at your past failed goals, I want you to stop telling yourself the same story. It wasn't just a lack of discipline. It wasn't that you're not the type to follow through. Your brain was doing exactly what it was wired to do. Reward immediate images of success, punish slow, invisible effort, and steer you toward whatever gave the fastest hit. Now you know the trap. You know why setting more goals without changing the structure only makes the crash worse. The shift is this: less talking about who you'll become, more quiet repetitions of what that person actually does, less chasing of perfect, distant outcomes, more dopamine attached to small, immediate actions. Your brain is not your enemy. It's a machine following old instructions. You don't fix it with motivation posters. You fix it by changing what it gets rewarded for. Stop setting goals as a way to feel like a different person. Start designing systems that make the actions of that person almost automatic. And slowly, quietly, your dopamine will stop being the trap that keeps you stuck and start becoming the engine that drives you exactly where you were trying to go the entire time.